Some breaking news this morning. After a lot of speculation pushed by the mainstream media, the director of national intelligence appeared on Fox Business this morning to shoot down a basically conspiracy theory about the Hunter Biden emails, despite zero evidence put forward by anybody that this is a Russian information, disinformation, etc. He says there is no intelligence whatsoever to point to that. Let's take a listen to what he said.
Let me be clear. The intelligence community doesn't believe that because there's no intelligence that supports that. And we have shared no intelligence with Chairman Schiff or any other member of Congress that Hunter Biden's laptop is part of some Russian disinformation campaign. It's simply not true. And this is exactly what I said I would stop when I became the director of national intelligence. And that's people using the intelligence community to leverage some political narrative. And in this case, apparently Chairman Schiff wants anything against his preferred political candidate to be deemed as not real and is using the intelligence community or attempting to use the intelligence community to say there's nothing to see here. Don't drag the intelligence community into this. Hunter Biden's laptop is not part of some Russian disinformation campaign, and I think it's clear that the American people know that.
Well, there it is, Krystal. I mean, straight from the and look. I mean, don't ever believe 100% what these people tell you.
Of course.
If he's lying, I think we'll probably find out for some bureaucrats who are friends with the New York Times pretty soon. So if that's true, we'll report it here if there's any evidence. But again, there is no evidence to support this theory whatsoever.
There's been not one shred of evidence offered to actually point to this. Other than, I mean, look, Rudy Giuliani's been like a shady, bad actor.
He's sketchy.
Steve Bannon was like, I get why people are nervous about this because the origins are sketchy. But you have to go with the information that you actually have. And there is zero evidence that this is part of some Russian disinformation plot. And to your point, on the Sunday shows, like Margaret Brennan was out there asserting, speculating that this was part of some Russian disinformation plot. Let's take a listen to this.
To that point, you know, there's been a lot of speculation that this week, some of the information about Joe Biden's son Hunter that is circulated in tabloid in the New York Post may be the result of a hack and dump operation. This is speculation at this point, that it could have come from Russian military hacking of a Ukrainian gas company where Hunter Biden served. Do you see any justification for that speculation at this point?
Margaret, I don't know the specifics of this case. Again, my view would be, let's let it play out. Let's investigate it. Let's get some factual evidence. Let's get the metadata. And let's see if this is accurate or not. I'm just not in a position really to speculate.
Well, it's being compared to the hack and dump operation that happened, as you know, back in 2016. A lot of Democrats alleging that it is that.
So that was the former NSA director, or the NSA director, Admiral Mike Rogers. And you can see he's like, look, I don't know. And I mean, but again, she's like, well, a lot of Democrats are pointing to. It's like, does that make it true?
Right.
There's no evidence to support it's true.
Yeah.
And that's what the DNI is pointing to. And like I said, look, if he's lying, let's find out. I'd love to know if it was a Russian disinformation hack. We'll cover it right here on the show.
Yeah, we don't put anything against, past the Russians.
Yeah.
Like,
sure,
if they could do this, I'm sure they would, all of those things. I also want to talk about the story itself, though, because the whole thing is so messy and like everyone is operating in sort of bad faith around it. First of all, the New York Post decides to publish emails that are related to these questions about Hunter's business dealings. Totally legitimate to raise questions about those. I feel that Joe Biden has not really been pushed on this issue. I feel that he hasn't fully answered for it. I feel like he hasn't fully given the American people confidence that these types of shady dealings and trading on his name, which, by the way, may under our laws be completely legal, but is absolutely grotesque. Oh, yeah, it's
mostly legal.
Commonplace maybe in D.C., but it's still disgusting. I still feel he hasn't given the American people proper assurance that that sort of shadiness is not going to be going on. But then they also published, personal photos showing Hunter in not a great state. They published text messages between Joe and Hunter when Hunter was in rehab, which were actually heartbreaking. I mean, if you were trying to hurt Joe Biden, these actually humanized him. But more to the point, they have zero news value and are just explicitly like a titillating, salacious, exploitative invasion of privacy. So they've been completely bad actors. Then the mainstream press and the Democrats use the fact that this is done in this shady way to completely ignore anything that could be legitimate about it and then spin up this conspiracy theory out of whole cloth that this is Russian disinformation, which again, if there's evidence, we'll be the first to acknowledge it, but there is zero evidence here. So the whole thing is just sort of grotesque and brings out the worst in everyone all around.
I couldn't agree with you more. I don't think they should have published those text messages. And to the extent that they did, it definitely helps Biden. I felt bad, man. I mean, that's a heartbreak when you read that stuff. Like, good morning.
How many Americans have family members who are going through this?
I don't even want to acknowledge it. Like, it's very nice for Joe Biden. And I mean, it's bad. And that they published it. And I don't think anybody's personal life should be put through the ringer like that. And I think that in general, what this is to me is a media story, is that the people who covered and collaborated with Glenn Simpson and Fusion GPS, all these other highly sketchy actors are now like, oh, Giuliani's sketchy. I mean, there's a lot more Russian disinformation coming out of Fusion than there ever was this. And again, I'm not like, oh, it's a Russian op, you know? I think that information is information. And this is the part where they don't trust voters enough. A lot of voters could both believe that Biden is corrupt and, you know, that Hunter did a lot of these shady dealings and still vote for him because they don't like Trump. That's a perfectly legitimate position, but they can't even acknowledge the validity of the email and give voters the options for themselves. That's what they're afraid of. And that's actually the part that galls me the most. Look, it's a corrupt country, has been for a long time. Basically since our beginning. A lot of people have always had to choose between lesser of two evils. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but that's the way it is. Trust people to make the right decision for themselves.
And I think it's always worth pointing out, too, the Biden campaign hasn't even denied the veracity of these emails.
Or Hunter.
Hunter hasn't denied it. The Biden campaign hasn't denied it. They haven't come out to say. The only thing they said is this meeting that Hunter floated was not on Joe Biden's official calendar.
They didn't even rule out that he met.
They couldn't rule out that he met with this person, with this Ukrainian businessman person, casually. So they really aren't even denying the veracity of the claims. But the media, and then, of course, we talked about Twitter and social media companies have just tried to shut this down so aggressively that at the end of the day, they called way more attention to it that it actually justified it. I mean, the emails that have been published that allegedly come from this laptop, they show some additional color and context around Hunter Biden's activities with regards to his foreign business relationships that look incredibly shady, and obviously he's trading off of his dad's name. Like, he's even sort of acknowledged that was the case. But did they really fundamentally change anything we know about this relationship? No, they really didn't. They were not these sort of bombshell revelations, but because of the handling and the aggressive pushback, it's called way more attention to it than it ever would have gotten.
And look, here's the real story. Let's throw this up there from Fox. I mean, they have a source who they spoke to, was on this email chain about 10% of a deal being held by H for the big guy. Now, the source on that email told Fox that the big guy is Joe Biden, so that a part of a deal that is being structured by Hunter with a large Chinese energy company is being held in basically, by Hunter for Joe. That also, you could take that with a text message that he once sent to his daughter where he was saying, unlike your grandfather, I won't make you kick up 50%. Now, again, there's no evidence of bank transfers, wire transfers. Senate had all this documents and banks. They didn't show any of that. But this at least shows him time to trade off and alleging that he was going to hold some of that for Joe. And again, you can believe that that is 100% true and vote for Joe. I won't begrudge you for it. I don't know what your personal values are. Just at least acknowledge the validity of this story. And they won't even do that. Biden lashed out at a reporter, CBS News reporter, who asked him. He was like, I knew you were going to ask me that. It's a smear campaign. Somebody like you always ask about the. I mean, just the arrogance of this man. Yesterday, he was out for ice cream with one of his granddaughters. And the reporters asked him what flavor of ice cream he got. One guy starts interjecting about the laptop. He just walks away. And the press corps laughed at him. That's the part that really gets me.
What kind of flavor did he get?
I don't know.
The people want to know the answers they deserve. All right. More Rise and Worry after this.